Hi, this is David from Taipei Computer Association, and thank you so much for joining. This is our first InnoVEX Live. We are 30 days before InnoVEX 2019, and there are loads to cover. Now, let me get the big elephant out of the room first. So, just in case you are new, InnoVEX is dedicated to startups, obviously. So in Taiwan, startup definition is 5 years and under. Okay, we are a sister event of Computex. So Computex is going to be dealing with companies above 5 years old most of the times, and InnoVEX 5 years under. And over here, we have a super busy agenda for the 3 days during the show. We have exhibitions, we have pitch contests, we have demos, we have forums, and we have matchmaking. Okay, so that's in a nutshell of what InnoVEX is about. Before I get into any details, I would like to invite our guests, Stephanie and Brayn, respectively, to basically just briefly introduce about yourself. If I may have the ladies first.
Thank you, David. So, hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Tang, and I'm Managing Director of Rookie Fund. So we are a student-run venture capital fund that operates out of Taiwan, Xiamen, and Hong Kong. We were previously under the 500 Startups umbrella and spun out in 2016. So really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Thank you. And Brayn. Brayn is extremely special. I mean, Stephanie is special too, but Brayn is interesting because Brayn works at a law firm.
Right. Basically, I'm running a law firm, but it's since like 15 years ago, I started helping those startups in Taiwan to afford all their funding, their due diligence, and their company setup, all the internal, external legal matters situation. So I helped roughly like 100 teams, startups in Taiwan every year. So I'm actually my interest is more like to know better about tech and the internet business. So it's I'm very enjoying helping them because I learn something new every day. That's what I do basically every day.
So because Brayn and Stephanie, both of you are extremely active in ICT startups. So Brayn, what? Obviously, you really enjoy helping startups, but is there anything in specific that you or the firm is looking at the moment?
Oh, okay. As a law firm, we probably cannot choose our client, right? So if a client comes to us, then we will help them. Either he's a criminal or he's a startup. But personally, I spend most of the time helping startups to create a solid foundation before they met any potential investors. Such as if there are some three or four startups, they want to create a group and to develop anything their projects. So I'll help them to do the like a joint venture agreement or shareholder agreement, and we're helping them on the provider agreement or purchase agreement, or they dealing with some term sheet with the investors, anything like that, and to set up a proper company structure. For example, it's an offshore company base or a Taiwanese company base. We are helping them under their best situation for their potential investors. Because I was, in the first place, I helped those big venture capital to do the evaluation of all those portfolios. So I know the perspective of those venture funds want to see. That's the way how I can help those startups to make their company to be easy to be invested. So that's the reason I came to this area.
Well, that's quite interesting. So, do you have a specific focus of the different industries at the moment that you're looking at? Fintech,
Other than the law firm lawyer, I also acting as a director in an individual venture capital. So at that capital, invest in some agriculture technology. We said it's agri-tech.
Okay.
Agri-tech.
Okay.
Agriculture is some sector Taiwanese have a very strong technology in it. Then we have a lot of school, university, have students and professors to research those new technology to help to grow our farming. And nowadays we probably can use some new technology such as internet, IoT devices, or the forecast technology to help in those farming. So together with these two very strong technology, Taiwanese can create a lot of really valuable companies upon it. So that's my recently very interesting sector.
Well, that's quite cool because obviously Taiwan is at a very special position. We have a very complete ICT production chain, as you can see from Computex. So that's quite interesting. I mean, you'll be able to definitely find companies in IoT, AI, some blockchain. I think, I mean, agri-tech. I think there were a couple of agricultural technology startups from the 2018 InnoVEX.
Yeah. You can see that most of these startups are coming out from the university. And there are probably some professor and they want to create their own company and transfer technology from the company, from the university, they can create something valuable. But in most cases, these students or professors, they don't need people to helping them with the technology, but they need somebody to help them on for the business side. For how they to develop their business here in Taiwan, the how to get the right place to use those technology and to get something in return. Or they probably need someone to extend their business outside of Taiwan to create a supply chain or like business offshore.
Okay.
So that's why I can contribute to help them.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned about startups from universities because I think that's somewhere in the line of Stephanie's profession. I mean, Rookie Fund is very special. Would you be so kind to elaborate a bit more about Rookie Fund?
About how we operate?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. So actually Brayn does know very clearly how we operate as well because he's one of our mentors. And he is an expert in startup law here in Taiwan. So he's very closely affiliated with us. So Rookie Fund is actually a student-run venture capital fund. What that means is there are two specific cohorts of students that we interact with. One is startups. So it's a fund that invests in student startups.
Okay.
But number two, the second cohort that we interact with are actually students that we recruit on an annual basis to join our fund. And these are actually going to be the people that will deploy the capital for Rookie Fund. Think of them as student scouts, student VCs, student investors, whatever you would want to call them. But we actually train them how to angel invest, and then we give them $20,000 and we say, hey, go ahead, go find the startups and go invest in them yourself. You actually have 100% deciding power on who the capital goes towards.
Do they work individually or do they work as a team? Or?
They work as a team.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this year for Taiwan we have 10 students, in Xiamen we have 8, in Hong Kong we have 6, and a majority vote would decide on whether a deal passes through.
Okay.
So for 10, if they have like 6 people who vote yes on a case, then the case goes through.
Wow. That's very interesting. So once a student make a decision and the results, obviously they have to be accountable for their own, investment results, whether it's a good investment or could be a better investment. How do you evaluate their performance, or how do they get evaluated?
You mean the performance of the investments?
Investment itself.
So this is actually our 4th year in the running, and we have some statistics on how our past investments have been doing. We've invested in 5 startups, and they're all still alive, thankfully. And in terms of the IRR and cash-on-cash multiple, the statistics are pretty good. So I think I can confidently say that the investments the students have made over the past 4 years are healthy and surprisingly most lucrative.
Okay.
We haven't cashed out,
Okay.
but they're doing well.
I think that's quite important. I mean, obviously you guys have the mentor team to assist on the student entrepreneurs to make the right decision. I mean, that's quite comforting to hear.
Well, we don't actually mentor them that much.
Oh,
it's more like
okay.
a fund. So
Okay.
in terms of portfolio management and strategy later on, I'm sure that's Brayn's expertise. It is not our expertise.
Okay.
So Rookie Fund is a fund. We give really friendly capital. We don't try to haggle with them too much.
Okay.
We use a convertible or use whatever term sheet they provide to us. We don't try to negotiate too much.
Wow.
Hence, we think it's easy capital to raise, where we promise we're not going to be controlling or too much trouble as an investor, since we give not too much capital anyway.
Okay, there's quite a lot of freedom in that on their decision.
On the team
On
side.
the team
Right,
side,
right.
okay. And from your past experience so far, what sort of agendas they're tackling at the moment?
You mean the startups?
The startups, yes.
Oh, I would love to share about this. So, for everyone's information, we are definitely working on consolidating reports and findings over the past 4 years.
Okay.
And please stay tuned for Rookie Fund's reports later on this year.
That's
Very
cool.
exciting news. Yeah,
Okay.
because if you Google student entrepreneurship or what's going on with young people in Asia, there are no statistics whatsoever. Maybe just a couple from government competitions, but that's it. Right, so we want to share our findings. So just to let you know a little bit of a sneak peek, we consolidated what industries students are working on in the 3 of our locations. And we looked at over 200 deals just from this year alone,
Okay.
right? But we have the past couple years to throw in the mix as well. And the top 3 industries are education, social and gaming,
Okay.
and hardware plus IoT.
Okay.
Yeah. So the hardware and IoT are tied,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Which is kind of surprising because you would think that hardware would require a lot of capital.
Exactly.
But it kind of turned out that way. So
Oh.
these are just stats.
Okay. And how are they doing at the moment? All these top 3 categories, are they doing okay?
I don't have specific data on how these specific categories are doing.
Okay.
Right. But I have data on how all the teams are doing that we're seeing.
Okay.
So could share about that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think some really interesting numbers are most of the teams average around 5 employees total that we
Okay.
look at. So they're still relatively small. Most of them have been founded within the last 3 years. So we don't really look at teams that have, it's not like we don't want to, but we haven't really seen teams that have been around for 5 or 6 years, maybe 1 or 2 of them,
Okay.
right? So they're very, very young startups in terms of the startups longevity. But in terms of the ages of the people running the startups, they average around 25 years old.
Wow.
Right. So we have a mandate to invest in these younger entrepreneurs, hence the data. Right?
Okay,
But
okay,
in
yeah.
terms of they could be maybe like 18 to 35, they average around 25.
Okay.
Yeah. And then out of all the co-founders, there's usually, I think this is a really, really encouraging statistic. So 60% of the startups we look at have at least one core member or co-founder that's a female.
That's interesting.
Yeah, hopefully that's more, right? You would want 100%.
Okay.
But at least it's 60,
Yeah.
right? Around 30% of each company's employees are engineers.
Okay.
So I think we would have expected that to be a little higher
Okay.
since they're tech startups that we
Yeah.
invest in, but it's around 30%,
Okay.
right? All the teams that we've looked deeper into are not professor IP teams. So that's really interesting, right?
Okay.
Because I think we've heard advice saying, hey, maybe you should look at professor IP teams where the IP is owned by the school, the professor, they find some students
Yeah.
together, right? But I think this is a very, very interesting sharing. Some of the teams that we've looked at of that nature don't survive past 3 years. So
Maybe Brayn tells you.
yeah, Brayn, do you have some?
Why? Why is that?
Yeah, in my opinion, in my experience, that the most of the rookie fund or those student startups are focusing on the new business model or like a new platform to get new service out of the new existing market occupier. Then, but like professor, IP teams are usually sponsored or get the resources from the school, from the government, and they probably have only limited strategy.
Okay.
They use the old model or old channel to hit the existing market. So it's totally different thing. But amazingly, you cannot undervalue that student teams. They have useless time, probably free labors, and they're probably energetic all the time. They don't need to sleep. They can create a website in one night. But unfortunately, it's also some disadvantages, such as not stable. They probably get tired of do the startup in the next months.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to obstacle for the rookie investors.
Yeah.
So they have both of their pros and cons.
Okay.
So how to manage all these pros and cons and keeping it in the growing situation in the long run, that's what we need to do.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, Stephanie, you've mentioned about the top 3 sectors of the most tackled issues that students are tackling. It sort of fits a little bit about the trend that we're seeing at the moment. I mean, last year during InnoVEX, we have a couple of agendas that is quite a hit. We have AI, we have fintech, and this year, at the beginning of this year, we have CES, which they talked a lot about 5G. They talk about AI, IoT. Do you see a trend in that? I mean, from Stephanie and also from Brayn, do you see that startups in 2019 are also falling into that direction?
Well, the thing is, we're trying to look for teams that we can bet on in the long run, right?
Okay.
Since we're very little capital, not trying to cash out anytime soon, and we don't have follow-on capital for any of these teams. So I realize what ends up happening is anything too trendy, a big possibility they'll die within 3 years, like a 3-year time frame. So you have AR, VR, blockchain, AI. We have some blockchain teams that come in too, but we generally like to look for teams that have already demonstrated some sort of track record. So most of the teams we invest in have a revenue stream. They're not purely idea stage. They have to have an entity, hopefully founded in Taiwan or potentially abroad if they have like a mother company here, right? And in order to actually generate revenue, that usually means they're not one of the super trendy companies, because it's really hard to make sure you're earning something if it's just like, hey, I'm a blockchain startup. Where does your money come from right now? Unless, they're just trying to speculate cryptocurrency, or that's different. So in terms of the trendiness, the one thing we do see that is earning money is something in the AI realm.
Okay.
So chatbot companies are able to be profitable.
Okay.
But how stable their revenue stream isn't super clear. So usually it's more like a contingent case-by-case basis where they work on campaigns with larger businesses like Vogue or GQ, right? Media companies. But in order to have a stable source of revenue, they would have to go into developing enterprise software or their engine to sell licenses. And that is honestly really, really difficult for super young people because they're just a little bit less experienced. Yeah, so in terms of trends, we see it. We see the team that come in, but even I think 2 days ago I met a team that we met last year, and they happened to be doing agritech actually, but they died. And then now they're doing AI, like voice discernment, trying to figure out if people are risky or not risky, and they want to sell to insurance companies. So I think year by year, the interesting stuff is we get to see what persists. The cool thing about this team is, hey, they're still trying to do something, although they've completely pivoted. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, with agritech, we actually met a startup last year from Taiwan. They actually monitor the water quality of water dam and farms, so that farmers or fisheries can grow their stuff better
some technology like that will then they probably don't have the ceiling of their revenues, because everywhere they need this kind of technology, especially for those do the agriculture most. Usually, a country have the most agriculture percentage, have the lowest technology quality, right? So Taiwan can do to export this kind of technology to other countries. It's our advantage to do that. Yeah. So we have already seen a lot of these kind of startup teams. But the most situation of them are they're coming out from school, but they didn't have a very good business mind to explore their business opportunity outside of Taiwan. So that's where they need to be focused on.
And that's where your firm can actually assist them.
Right, of course. We can help those legal matters in the first place for them to, in the right place, to get invested. Then, with those investments, they can they can expand their business. By the way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot of questions from my side. In regards to InnoVEX, I mean, this is after InnoVEX Live, so I need to talk about InnoVEX a little bit. Out of curiosity, because I know both of you are very active in startups, but in InnoVEX, I know Stephanie was one of our guests last year.
Mm-hmm.
Brayn, not yet. We hopefully will get you on stage sometime soon.
Sure.
Is there anything specific that you want to find out more about InnoVEX?
Absolutely. So, was fortunate enough to attend last year. Thank you so much for hosting a panel on women entrepreneurship. I really appreciate that personally, because not too many large global events hosted in Taiwan tackle sensitive issues like this. So very much appreciated. I think it's a very courageous and impactful move. So I would want to know, since there are an abundance of startup events, right, demo days, there are a lot of accelerators in Taiwan, what makes InnoVEX's event this year different than another demo day or a startup event or, like a startup get-together?
That's a very good question. Well, first I have to say that all the other startup events are fantastic. I'm not saying that InnoVEX is better or anything, but what makes InnoVEX quite special is that I think it is the way it's operating. It is a sister event from Computex, which makes a big difference. Usually when you have a startup event where you go pitch and you win some prizes, but that's generally it, almost. But with InnoVEX, you have the full industry chain next door at Computex, where you actually not only looking for VCs, but you also get clientele, which is a very real business situation for startups. If you want to test waters with the product or services, I think InnoVEX or Computex is going to be a fantastic place. If you don't get enough attention during InnoVEX, then we can work on that, because it's a very real situation. If your product or services doesn't attract eyeballs, whether it's from media, from VCs, or from potential clients through Computex, then we need to work on that a little bit. So I think makes it InnoVEX slightly just a bit more edgy in terms of B2B wise. We have a lot of events happening that is B2B, but it's very localized, whereas InnoVEX is B2B, but is focused at a market not just within Taiwan, but within the greater Southeast Asia. We have companies flying in from Russia, from Eastern Europe, from US, from Southeast Asia, of course, and there's a mosquito by our table. But these guys come to InnoVEX for the market for Taiwan and its surrounding.
So it sounds like if you're able to make it into InnoVEX, that booth there, or you make it into the pitch competition, which you'll talk about later, right?
Yes. Yes.
Then, since Computex is operating at the same time, they're able to jump over and meet a big aggregate of
Yes, definitely.
to be
Yeah.
potential clients.
Yeah, we have quite a large visitors from the industry as well. International media, definitely. So it is a fantastic place. Not to mention that the agendas we have packed each year, at the moment we have, obviously Expo is Expo. We have pitch contest, not to mention that 9th of May is the final deadline if you still want to enter this competition.
To enter, do you have to be registered at InnoVEX?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You have to be an exhibitor to enter for the pitch contest. This year we are running at a total price of 420,000 USD.
Wow.
That's actually quite a big price.
That's not bad.
That's
Commendable.
Yes, I mean 420,000 USD is that's quite a lot of money. Obviously, terms and conditions apply, but the total amount is incredible. I think we also have picture matchmaking. We have forums again. This year we have very interesting topics. You mentioned about AR, VR. We actually have a session on sports tech on the first day. They're talking about new immersive experience for sports and also a new application for referees to make the game a bit more legit. You know, that's day one. We also have biotech, where we have professors from schools. I think that's the one that you were talking about. You know, professors want to make, start a new company.
Yeah.
But then these guys, they actually work with hospitals or smart or healthy living application companies that they actually collaborate together. So they're going to share their experiences. We have there's a session on smart city linked to a blockchain. Okay, where we actually invited Mayor from Eindhoven. Mayor Jorisma is going to come. He's going to be joining the panel, so that should be quite interesting. Netherlands and Taiwan is rather similar in size, in terms of size and population. So it's quite an interesting topic for Mayor Jorisma from Eindhoven to actually speak to us about smart city and blockchain. And not to mention,
Why do you look confused when you say that?
The application of blockchain is wide.
Yeah.
Obviously, this time we set it in such a way that it's targeting smart city. So I was thinking, wow, it's interesting because first thing that springs to mind is people's identity using blockchain technology, or in hospitals and in government data protection. And I'm just thinking, how does that fit in with smart cities, like specifically?
Guess we'll find out at InnoVEX.
Yes, on day two. On day two, that's the 30th of May. And on the 30th of May, where we have the grand pitch, the final pitch of the pitch contest, that should be quite interesting because that is when we hand out the 420,000 USD. I have to mention that again because it's quite a substantial amount for
Did you know the last year's InnoVEX pitch winner, Ray from
Yes.
BioInspiro?
Yes.
He got Forbes 30 under 30 this year. So
Wow.
many congratulations. to him.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ray.
So InnoVEX works, right? You win a competition, and you get further prospects. That's fantastic. So yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of time on our first InnoVEX Live at the moment, but hopefully we'll get you guys come again very soon for our second or
Right.
third, and I would like to have Brayn on our stage one time,
No problem.
and continuously have Stephanie on our stage.
I would love to.
Yeah, talk about ladies entrepreneurship, and I think that's really good. I mean, that's really important as well. Yeah.
I learned a lot. Yeah. Thank
Definitely.
you.
So just to recap, if you are new to InnoVEX, InnoVEX is a B2B exhibition, a sister exhibition from Computex. So it's happening on the 29th to the 31st of May 2019 at Taipei, Taiwan. And we're really looking forward to see you then. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time at our InnoVEX Live. Bye.
Bye.